And now, like David mentioned, we're going to welcome a select number of our ISH researchers, some of whom have been with us for the last 2 years, so they're kind of like part of our family now, I feel like they are. I'd like to welcome Dr. Christine Ong and Drs. Mark Hansen as well.
My name is Christine Ong. I'm a research scientist at the Press Center in the School of Education and Information Studies and part of the SMASH team, and I'm delighted to be here and be part of the family, ISH family.
I'm Mark Hansen. I'm also at Crest and faculty in the School of Education and Information Studies.
And we're going to be talking about our study called SMASH, Social Media and the Spread of Hate. And we've been here for 2 years, almost 2 years now, so we'll be sharing some of our findings, but we're also so excited to have all of you in the audience to hear your thoughts and about your experiences. All right, perfect. So without further ado, very quickly to set the stage, our lives are very different now than maybe they were 12, 13 years ago. And for those who are 13, they don't really know a time without smartphones or social media. And what does that mean? So I won't go deeply into the research, but there is a large and larger growing body of research looking at how teens use social media. What are some benefits for using social media, connecting with friends, the world, as well as potential pitfalls. One thing that strikes me is this third bullet is that there is growing evidence that increased time spent, extended time spent on social media can be connected to some adverse outcomes, depression, anxiety, isolation, but how and under what circumstances we're still trying to understand. So under that context, while there may be benefits, the Surgeon General's advisory that came out last year, there are ample indicators of that social media can also have profound risk. And that's where our study comes in. But first, what do we mean by harms? Here's a list of many potential harms that someone could encounter on social media, but we're mostly focused on the first two, cyberbullying and hate speech, for our project. As I mentioned, SMASH, it's a multidisciplinary project. It's a collaboration with researchers from the School of Education and Information Studies, as well as our partner, Organization for Social Media Safety. We've got the CEO here, Mike Berkman, and we're working together on this project. OFSMS, I have to say that slow, is a nonprofit that provides educational programming to schools across the country, grades 5 through 12, as well as parents and educators. So really quick, what is our goal? For SMASH, during this phase, our goal is to lay a foundation for future studies that we can examine how hate speech on social media may affect youth mental health and learning trajectories. How are we doing that? First, we have to understand from the young people's perspective, what do you mean by hate speech? What is it? And also, where do you find it? How often are you encountering it? And finally, our goal is to build an infrastructure to monitor trends over time within and across schools. I'll talk about methods and give you a hint of findings, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hansen. So, as I mentioned, OFSMS provides educational programming. They go out to do school assemblies, and as part of the assembly, students are given a handheld clicker. And there are various times within the 50-minute presentation, they're asked questions, they respond. They're able to see a lot of these questions in real time, the responses, and then we're able to analyze that data as well. So as of May, we have a sample of 94 schools and almost 24,000 respondents in the data you'll just be seeing. We're also working to gather qualitative data, those stories, those perspectives through focus groups, and we have a teen advisory, can you hear that? Teen advisory board. We also have school intake surveys to learn more about from the administrators what their policies are and what their concerns are. Quickly, some sample characteristics. We do have responses from grades 5 through 12, 10, 11, 12 grade, 5% or less of the sample. The largest proportion comes from 5th and 6th grade, special years. And our sample is fairly diverse by race and ethnicity. So before I dive into the findings, this is our interactive part. I'd like you to make a guess. What percentage of students attending an OFS assembly report having been exposed to hate speech on social media? And actually the question is, in the last month, have you encountered hate speech on social media? Just yell out a few answers. What do you think?
93%.
93, okay. All right, some high numbers. Here we go. 81%. So highlights from recent findings, 95% using social media, 46% of students have reported being cyberbullied. As I mentioned, 81% hate speech, 57% have seen hate speech on social media connected to someone who they see personally. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hansen to talk about something that we're seeing around hate speech and hate speech related to religious beliefs.
Thank you. So, as Christine mentioned, one of the goals of this project was to build an infrastructure with OFSMS because they're throughout the school year present in schools, talking with students to be able to kind of monitor trends. We didn't actually expect or anticipate that we would see trends within the year of this project so far, but we have actually seen a positive, which in fact is a negative trend, but over time that 81% is increasing. So from the first assemblies that were done in early 2023 into this current academic year that now is ending, we're seeing that creep up. What's sort of interesting is we see that the trends vary across the kinds of hate speech or the targets of hate speech. So I know it's hard to see in that table, but there are a number of questions. Not all of them are asked at every age level, but for the middle school and high school students, we're asking them not only have you seen hate speech within the last month, but was it based on gender? Was it based on race, ethnicity? Was it based on religious beliefs? And there's an overall increase in exposure to hate speech, the percentage of kids within an assembly who are reporting that exposure within the past month. But specifically, we see increases in hate speech related to race, ethnicity, and religious beliefs, but not for gender over that time period. And if we just look at sort of pre and post October 7th on either side of that cutoff, which happens to be about half of our data collection window that we've had this running, we see significant increases in those two areas of religious beliefs and race, ethnicity. But this, you can sort of see every circle there is an assembly, and the trend is to increase over time for the proportion indicating exposure to hate speech related to religious beliefs. I was personally surprised to find, as a parent of some teenagers, just the amount of time that students report being on social media. We're still trying to understand exactly what this means, what it means to be on social media for 10, 11 plus hours a day. But high exposure that increases with age level. And another interesting finding that we're now beginning to dig into with some questions that'll appear starting now and through the coming academic year, and also explored through focus groups, is this idea of scrolling by without reacting. Although we sort of anticipated that there might be a range of responses, it seems by far the most frequent response is to say, I'm not really paying attention to it, I'm not responding to it. At the same time, we find that there's an association, a positive relationship between the time spent per day on average using social media and exposure to hate speech, and also the experience of cyberbullying, and then a negative association with that same hours spent per day and satisfaction with life. David earlier used the word epistemological humility or modesty or something along those lines. These are cross-sectional data. We don't really know that there's a causal relationship there, but we do have some hypotheses about third variables that may be important. Are those who are spending more time encountering more hateful content, are they reacting to it in more negative ways, and is there a connection there between that and this self-reported satisfaction with life? So more questions than answers, but again, learning a lot from the perspectives of these middle and high school students.
Okay, with that, we'll talk a little bit about impact. So again, findings underscore the prevalence of social media and exposure to harms in a very concrete way. So we've shared the results with the schools, so not only do they see them as part of the presentation, but they have them afterwards. We've also had the opportunity to be part of webinar discussions with school administrators, the Mindwell Pod here, and conferences, but also Mark Brooklyn, again from OFSMS, has mentioned SMASH and the results as part of a recent congressional hearing. So the results are getting out in the world. In terms of next steps, so again, our research hopefully is informing next steps for other groups, but also for ourselves as OFSMS is planning phase 2, so when they come back to the same school again, as well as our work on an internet kindness curriculum. And finally, we're trying to forge our path in making more collaborations, so working with the Semel Institute, gathering data, more data from grades 5 through 12, and also a forthcoming undergraduate survey about their experiences, and our teen advisory board. And that's our team. Thank you.